Welcome to the Fuck the Generational Wealth Gap podcast. I'm your host, Elyse Alexander, your go-to fam when it comes to creating a wealthy life and getting rid of all that mental baggage that comes with codependency and perfectionism. It's not an easy trip, but you better bet your ass it's worth it and you are worthy of it. So today on episode 9, we are going to discuss something I think that's really special and that's a secret that no one really talks about, but it's going to be a little bit of a slap in the face, maybe. Because today we are going to talk about no, you don't just need to learn another strategy or work harder. It's not the solution. It's not going to serve us. It's not going to help us. Your business only grows as much as you are willing to grow. And there's something really beautiful in that. And there's also hard realization in that you must grow in order for your business to grow. Personal development, healing, trauma, these are the things that need to be dealt with in order to move on. So your business only grows as much as you are willing to grow. So what we're going to talk about today is, why aren't you moving forward? What happens if you push yourself just a little bit more? Does working harder count as a long-term strategy plan? Why am I diving into the thing that I spent my entire energy trying to get away from? Question mark. What is in store if you avoid it? What if you can't identify your emotions or how you feel? And also why it shifted my business. Because I am someone who was looking for every strategy, every concept. And I was like, okay, I got this. And I would be like, okay, I have all the strategy. I know what to do. And then I would go to do the launch and it wouldn't go. It wouldn't work very well. Nothing would happen very well. It didn't go according to plan. And none of the energy that I had that was good towards it stayed. It all just drifted away because it wasn't strategy that I needed. Let's get real. What I needed was new belief. What I needed was to deal with my trauma. What I needed was to stop disassociating. What I needed was to figure out what perfectionism was getting in the way for me of starting. What I needed was better relationships. And what I needed was to get my bullshit out of the way. Because these are the things that are in your way that are causing you to stagnate, that are causing you to stop, that are causing you to say, oh, you know what? I'll just do it later. Oh, you know what? I just need strategy. Someone just give me like the nuts and bolts and I can create whatever it is I'm meant to create. And then you notice that it's not about the strategy because you didn't do whatever homework that your coach gave you about the strategy. So there's feelings there that you are not wanting to connect to. So hence the disassociation. I did it for a long time. There are still things that I disassociate and I'm like, oh, got to catch myself, because it's not about just not doing the coping mechanisms at all. You have to realize why you are doing the coping mechanisms and then shift the coping mechanisms. It is crazy how much we all think that, oh, if someone just told me how to make money, I'd be able to do it. Or if someone just showed me how to make money, I'd be able to hold on to it forever. No, you got to learn the whole kit and caboodle. It's not like, oh, someone shows you how to make money. Okay, then you're going to have money for the rest of your life. It's your spending habits. It's all of it. It's not just one thing. So real talk, it is your beliefs that are in the way. It is your trauma that is in the way. It is your disassociation, your perfectionism, your relationships, and your bullshit that is in the way. So tips on how I started to work through it. Oh, goodness. Number 1, tips on how I started to work through the fact that strategy wasn't what I needed, that it was my issues that were in the way. So number 1, acknowledging that I was meant for more. That little feeling that you have inside of you that you're like, I know I can do better. I know that there's more that can come from me. I know that feeling that like comes up like a Jiminy Cricket or like a twinkle. that you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I'm meant for more. Maybe you wake up 2 o'clock in the morning and you're like, is this it? Is this all I'm going to do every day for the rest of my life? It's because the universe is trying to show you something. You're meant for more. So, tips on how I started to get through it. Number one, acknowledging I was meant for more. Number two, making a decision to open that door and continue, even if I didn't want to continue to make those decisions. So making a decision to myself that I was willing and that I was going to continue to open that door because we don't want to. I didn't feel like it. I really didn't feel like it. But guess what? I had no other option because I had already exhausted all of the other options, all of my other previous coping mechanisms, all of my other skills that kept me safe. They weren't working anymore. They weren't doing it anymore for me. So making a decision that I was going to open the door and continue to open it no matter what. Number three, surrendering to whatever your first automatic feeling is. It's a trauma memory and a pattern. I used to get really angry at my first automatic feeling. I would start to hate myself. I would start to say all these nasty things to myself. But then I acknowledged my first automatic thought, it's a pattern of my trauma memory. It has nothing to do with how I currently feel about it, but it is a reoccurring thing that might continue to happen for years to come because it's taken years to get this into place to exactly where it is right now. So, surrendering to whatever the first feeling is, you just have to let go. Whether it's anger, whether it's upset, whether it's sadness, whether it's crying, whatever the first automatic emotion is, just being at peace with the surrender to it. Number four, choose a second thought and ask yourself, is my first thought true? Because another thing that I would have a hard time in trying to figure out whether it was strategy or emotion that I needed to fix, was that, hmm, that thought turned into an emotion, turned into a memory. So if I just choose the second thought, that's my first choice of what I get to choose to think rather than my trauma pattern memory coming back. So, number five, ask yourself, why am I really staying stagnant? And you will get the answer. You will find out whether it's an emotion or whether it's strategy. Because when you go then to do it, either you will do it or you won't do it. And you'll notice real quick whether or not it's something that is in the way. And number six, then make an action decision to ask for help on how to get out of your stuckness. This one was really hard for me. Asking for help to get out of my stuckness felt like I was saying that I gave up. It felt like I was saying I had no idea what I was doing. It felt like if I was meant to do it, I would have known how to do it by myself, which is so all the lies we tell ourselves, all of them. So we'll go through those again. Number one, acknowledging that you're meant for more. Number two, making a decision that you're going to open that door and continue no matter what. Number three, surrendering to whatever the first feeling and automatic notion is, because that's the trauma, patterning, and memory. Number four, choose a second thought and ask yourself, is my first thought true? Number five, ask yourself, why am I really staying stagnant? Why really? And number six, then taking an action step to ask for help to get out of your stuckness because we all need help. I need help because I can't do this alone. And there's nothing wrong with you if you can't do it alone. I really want you to hear that. There's nothing wrong with you if you cannot do it alone. It just means the dream is bigger than you. And if you're dreaming big enough, then hell yeah, that dream's going to be bigger than you because that's what you're meant to do. Okay. Finding a way to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. This has been another superpower because being able to get comfortable with the uncomfortable means all of a sudden you're not like running away from an uncomfortable situation. You can sit in it and really feel it rather than jumping or flight or any of these experiences that we've had from our past trauma memory. It's being able to actually sit in it and actually experience it. You have taken yourself as far as you can take yourself. Now we need different tools to become someone else. Because if you were already where you'd want to be, you'd already be that person. But since you're not where you want to be, then we need to turn you into the person that has and gets and bees those things. Does that make sense? You do not have to do this by yourself, but you do have to do it because it will continue to come up over and over and over. So that's why I created these couple of tips, because I really wanted you guys to be able to see, feel, and hear what it is that I've done to be able to get here. Number one tip, find a coach. Find a mentor, find a coach, find someone who can support you, who has already dealt with maybe their own experience and they're starting to unwind their own tunnel. Because let's be real, it's going to take years for me to get to the end of my tunnel. Why? Because it takes years to get here. And it took years to encode and ingrain all of the bullshit and all the patterns that I've already created. Tip number 2, take action right away. You're going to talk yourself out of it. How do I know? Because I have, because you don't want to deal with your bullshit. No one wants to say like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready to deal with my bullshit. No, you're not ready. No one wants to like look it in the face and be like, does it look right? Is it good? Can we figure it out? No. So take action right away. When you're feeling it, understand, reach out, find someone who is a good supporter of you, who resonates with your values, who connects with you. I'm a real no bullshit kind of person. So a lot of people who like fluff don't like me because I don't fluff. But you will find your people. So number 1, find a coach. Number 2, take action right away. You will talk yourself out of it if you don't. Number 3, remember to breathe. I am someone who has lost my breath for periods of time because when you're in that state, when you're in that fight or flight, when you're in that experience of, I don't want to be here right now, you forget to breathe. And so we start to have this like, okay, we need to do things right now. Okay, things need to take action. Okay. Like that's where the overthinking, the anxiety, the stress, it all comes into play. But that's what it takes, is just breathing. Breathing so that you can find a way to pause. You want to quantum leap, but you need your inner child to heal. And quantum leaping, to me, has a lot to do with inner child healing. So really, it's actually just you and someone else on the other side helping you connect with you and get to know you and see more of yourself. So why aren't you moving forward? Unfortunately, it is all the bullshit. It is you in your own way, with your own trauma and your own inability to sit with ourselves, unfortunately. What happens if you push yourself just a little bit more? Burnout. And when you're done out of burnout, then you feel like you're breaking. Because when you push a little bit more, you give a little bit more of yourself, and you really don't have that much more of yourself to be giving. So then you burn out, and then you don't want to go back. Then you need time away. Then we need to create a whole different plan. Then we're angry. Then, to be honest with you, we just kind of give up. So that's why giving just a little bit more or working just a little bit harder, it is not a plan. It does not work. What happens when you work harder? Can you count that as a long-term plan? No, you cannot count that as a long-term plan, because if you're giving that much of yourself and you're already burnt out, could you imagine doing that for another 10 years? You die. That's it. Like, you have nothing else left to give. And since we're looking to create a healthy life, then we need more of ourselves back rather than giving it to everybody else. So doing more is not a long-term plan, because we want to give that piece of ourselves back to ourselves so that we can spend time with ourselves, so that we can create joy, so that we don't always feel like we're exhausted. I want to feel good. I want to feel refreshed. I want to feel like I'm more creative, like I have more ideas. So I can't just push harder. We have to push less, actually. We have to pull more back into ourselves. So, what is in store for you if you avoid it? If you avoid the trauma, if you avoid the disassociation, if you avoid asking yourself, why do I have this belief? Well, it is going to keep coming up. And not only is it going to keep coming up, but it's actually just going to keep happening and get harder and harder and harder, because you're going to have people who come into your life who look differently, but who act the same. You're going to have people have feelings who show up as other people who have had feelings in the past of the same pattern. It is going to keep amplifying itself until you go from pebble, 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 rock to boulder. And when you get hit by a boulder, that's when you need real healing. Because then what? You don't even know how to get up. You get hit by a boulder, that's like down and out for a long time. And we, as entrepreneurs and as recovering perfectionists and as recovering codependents, we need to know how to get up. It's so important to fundamentally just knowing how to continue to push forward, because you're going to get knocked down and we're going to have to get back up. So what if you can't identify any of your emotions or how you feel? If you can't identify, then that means you've either shoved it down so far that you can't see it, or you have disassociated so far that you can't even acknowledge your feelings, because you don't know whether or not you're lying to yourself or whether or not you're telling yourself the truth, because it's been so long since you told yourself the truth and believed it the first time. Why it shifted my business? Because when I finally dealt with things, I could get things done faster. I could push through things a whole lot more, rather than just being like, and something would happen and I wouldn't like it and I would run away and I would figure out another thing to do and I would rant and rave and figure out how to deal with my emotions. And now in my business, I'm calm, I'm collected, I'm unfuckwithable, because I know who I am inside of myself. So my exit question to you is, what action are you going to take today to hold space for the future wealthy you? Because she, he, they are so important to be stepping into this next stage of your life. I am so grateful that you stayed and hung out with me. Thank you so much for your time, for your energy, and for your acknowledgement of future you. And if you want to follow me and continue to have more conversations, I am Burning Pure on Instagram. And I would also love to hear any of your comments, any of your incredible insights on what it is that you've received or resonated with in this episode, because we're all in this together. I hope you have a wonderful, worthy, wealthy day, and I will see you next week.